First of all, a word of welcome to all our students who are here, who are back, especially from college. Know that the prayers will be with you as you go back for exams. This week, on this first Sunday of Advent, we begin now to reflect on those four very important things of the gospel. The very fact that we were created. Next week, we will talk about being captive. Third week, what it is now to be released, rescued. And finally, what is our response to all of this as Christmas Day draws near? To begin with creation is to ponder the question, why does something exist out of nothing? We know that science indeed is amazing. It's wonderful. It can tell us about the universe, how it's unfolded, and all the things and aspects of it, but it can't tell us why it exists. Revelation is how God shows us the answer to that question. More than presenting proofs for the existence of God, this message is really about why God created. He created out of love. In the beginning, it is said God created. Why? Not out of need, because in the Trinity, God is complete. All creation is incredible in magnitude. All that we see displays the power and love of God in a way that should make us wonder and be still and be in awe. In all of it, it's ultimately about us. It's about you and about me. Anything exists at all because God wanted it to exist, because he loves us. And humanity is the pinnacle of God's creation. The first in intention, the last in execution. And God only rests in the book of Genesis after creating humanity. And this reveals the grandeur of our human nature and shows what we were made for, to be loved by God. And from that love to move in relationship with God and with one another. And the original holiness leads to original unity. And God's created love in this way is not general. It's not just for you all. It's specific for you, in you, and you. That's why we always say, you matter. He loves you and me individually. As St. Thomas Aquinas said, God is the ground of all being, meaning that God is constantly holding us in being by his creative love, constantly willing us and choosing us, each one of us, both here and outside these walls. It is said now, unfortunately, that our era is increasingly becoming described as the Great Depression, whereas we know the first Great Depression was economic. This one is largely due to the mental health crisis, which is now only being addressed. But it's also anxiety, fear, loneliness, depression, and despair. These are on the rise. And this is especially true among younger people. But believe me, it's not limited to just them. There are many causes of this struggle going on in the lives of so many people. But the root of the problem is that God has been pushed farther and farther off the stage. And when that happens, the human person made in his image and likeness loses all sense of meaning and purpose. If the human person, the only creature that God has willed for its own sake, as we teach in the church, then it follows that if we don't know God, we quite simply may never know who we are. Our very existence is a gift from God, a gift that has a purpose, a goal. And so what is that purpose? What's the end goal? What's the mission of the church? And what do these things have to do with the season of Advent today? The answer comes from the sacred text. Stay awake, listen, as the Lord wants to speak to his creatures. There's an old story about a man who lost a very valuable watch, a family heirloom. and he was frantic about it. So he called everyone in the office now to help him find it. And one coworker said, well, if everybody just leaves the building, I think I can find it. And so the watch owner was just stunned. He didn't know what to say. But finally he said, well, nothing else has worked, so he cleared everybody out of the office. 10 minutes later, the coworker emerged with the watch in hand. Of course, the owner said, how did you find it? The man said, after everyone left, it got real quiet. And I laid down on the floor, and the watch found me. The ancients tell us the story that in the beginning, we were awake, always awake, not necessarily physically, but emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. We were filled with wonder and awe. And the story of Genesis tells us that Adam and Eve were attentive to the evening breeze because they knew that somehow it signaled they would have an encounter with God that day, the God who would come to them in the garden. They were attentive to each other's needs, to each other's desires, gifts, and talents. They were awake, like you and I are, at moments now of grandeur, of beauty, of significance. Something happened. The newborn baby, holding that, looking up at the stars. We were created to live in joy-filled expectation, knowing that each moment is a gift from God. And so today, Jesus invites us to wake up, to live this Advent in hopeful expectation, to pay attention today and every day to all the marvelous manifestations of the goodness of each person, of each event, of each thing, of each moment. And here we are now, prepared to receive now, to touch, to taste God with us, Emmanuel, in our Eucharist celebration here at Mass. God is good. God's attentive to us. Let us be attentive to the workings of God.